I will say it has worked. Somebody wrote a letter recently that was published in the Independent, I believe, which was talking about me. And is that person here by any chance? The guy who wrote that letter, the guy from Edgewood? Okay, I thought it was possible anyway. The letter was, I couldn't tell if the letter was really critical or not critical. Anybody remember reading that letter? It was a little bit sarcastic in tone, but it was talking about a comment I had made to the paper, to the Mountain View Telegraph, in fact, I believe, about the baggage issue. And I wanted to explain that because this person sort of seemed to be taking exception to my comment about baggage. And what I had said is, with all the new people there coming in, and there's also 15 new people on the Senate side, and 20 new people on the House side, that I hoped that when those people came in that we would get a break by having so many new people, because all the new people didn't have so much baggage. And what I meant by baggage was this, is that when you're there and you're working on legislation, sooner or later you have to vote against somebody's bill, something that they liked and they wanted, but you, for whatever purposes, decide that you can't vote for that and you don't, and you make them a little bit annoyed. And then what happens is over time, over the years, all those annoyances build up until pretty soon you're routinely voting against that person's bills just because they've made you mad so many times in the past. And I've seen big grudges at the Roundhouse, and a lot of then what happens is driven by personal enmity that builds over 20 years, not really the merits of the bill necessarily, but just, people don't like each other at that point. And that's the baggage that I was talking about, is if you stay too long in the legislature, you're bound to pick that up, just like if you stay too long anywhere. You're bound to just find people that, have annoyed you one too many times and you don't really want to deal with them anymore. And so I was hoping that our legislature has been stuck the last several years now, where they just couldn't get much done because they just battled each other tooth and claw over everything all the time, and there seemed to be no ability to compromise to get anything done. And of course in politics, that's what politics is about, is compromise. We can't all get our way all the time. As much as we might like to, we know that that's not going to work out. So you have to be willing to be flexible and to compromise and to find out, what do I need? What do they need? Can we find a place in the middle where we both get something that we need, and then we all go move on to something else and get something done for the citizens? So I was hoping that with so many new people here that weren't carrying baggage because they don't know each other and they don't know everybody in there, that we would be able to be nicer, be more polite, be more willing to think about being friendly and to be compromising. So that was what I was saying about having baggage, that the new people wouldn't have all of that baggage with them, because we don't know everybody for 25 years who's in there already. I believe so far in this session, we're 3 weeks in now or so, that's actually worked out to be true. Everybody, I think, and you'll be glad to hear this, everybody seems to be going out of their way to be very nice to everybody else. So I'm very nice to all the Democrats, and I'm very nice to all the Republicans. And in turn, they're all very nice back to me. Everybody is just nice to each other all the time. And then maybe it'll get a little worse by the end when things get a little tighter and everybody's a little tireder, and it's a little bit tense by the end. But so far, everybody's been nice to everybody, and that's kind of a pleasant change of pace. And what that's meant is some things actually start getting done. I've been on several occasions where we've passed bills out of committee on unanimous votes, where all Republicans and all the Democrats agreed because we talked it over and we thought about it, we made little amendments if we had to, and then we all agreed, yeah, this is a good idea, let's pass this out. And that's pretty gratifying because there's been far too little of that in the last few years. So I think that is working. The new people, especially like me, we have a significant role in that because we're willing to speak up and we're willing to talk to our fellow legislators from whichever party and discuss these things on just a factual basis. So I belong to 2 committees, and one of those is the Tax and Revenue Committee, and I really enjoy being on that committee. And the guy who sits next to me is a fellow named Jason Harper from Albuquerque, And he's a young man, he's a Republican, and he's a research scientist at Sandia National Laboratories. So having been a scientist myself for 20 years or so, we have a lot in common and we get along well. And I'm really delighted to sit next to him because we have a really good time in that committee discussing all the very technical points that come up before the Tax and Rev Committee and figuring out what's the best thing that we should do. So we have a really great working relationship. And the guy on the other side of me is a Democrat who works at Los Alamos, and he's a young fellow and he's a scientist as well. So the three of us have a great time on that committee working on things and try to resolve things for the best point of view of the citizens, not for the best point of view of our parties, but for what we were sent there to do. So I see that as working, and I wanted to let you know and give you a heads up on that, but that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing, that's a really very good thing. And whether it lasts indefinitely or forever, I don't know, I can't predict the future. But I can tell you that I've been very pleased with it so far. And I've been, we've had tense moments sometimes in committee. The other committee I'm on is the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. And that's a committee full of very smart people. But on a lot of issues, we don't all see eye to eye. So we debate those issues very thoroughly when they come before our committee. And we have really excellent debates. But what's been good about the debates is they're very civil debates. They're debates on facts. They're not ad hominem attacks. We don't attack each other personally. But we simply try to go through and marshal our facts and make a good debating argument. And we've had a fair number of votes in there where it was party line vote. And there's one more Democrat than there is a Republican. So we win the vote on our side because we have one more vote than they do. But we certainly have a good debate about the whole thing in those cases. And we've had a fair number in there where they weren't party line votes, where we all voted together because it was a good idea and we figured out how to make it a better idea, and then we passed it and moved it on. So I'm really happy with how that works out, and because it's my first time, I'm glad to see that operating that way and how that's going.